True North Vision finally up and the way it goes. We got Karina here with us.
What's up?
Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Karina.
How do you feel?
Great.
Do you? Good.
A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. This is half the fun of it right here. And we've got
absolutely.
our first guest, Kevin Upshaw, from Kevin Upshaw and the One Night Stand out here joining us today.
You know it.
I'm telling you, man. We've got a little bit of history that we're building and growing together.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me.
yeah,
Thanks for having me out, man. Appreciate it.
It's about time. I feel like I always got to go see you, so it's nice for you to come see what we
Right?
got going on here
Right.
every once in a while too. So, what you been doing, man?
Oh, try not to break the law as much as possible. Trying to be good.
We always try to do that.
Playing a little music, traveling a little bit,
Definitely,
raising kids,
yeah, man. You've
coaching
got,
t-ball. I'm kind of doing a
you've
little bit
got-
of everything.
You've got quite the plethora of kids and grandkids.
Yes.
and all that.
Got
stuff.
a grandson. Yes.
That's definitely a huge shout out to your son too. He's a police officer.
Yes.
That's a big deal, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got
sure
nothing
is.
but
Yeah.
love for our boys in blue. And
Absolutely.
first responders. So.
Any of our firemen, police officers, military guys, thank you for your service as well. And so anytime we get a chance to thank them and give them a shout out, do whatever we can for them. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. You know, I mean, we've got a lot of them out here at the True North compound. You know, for us, you know, we got Karina, Brian. He was a police officer. I was a firefighter, and 25 of us that were all military guys, and you know, did our service to the country. Which, for us, it just
Awesome.
keeps continuing. You know, and it really started for us. You know, with Compass Quest Veteran Services. They did nothing but help us to get started. So I always wanted to send my shout out to those guys. And last year when we had our the baseball benefit with the Joplin Outlaws, you know, that was one where you came out. That right
Yeah.
there, you know, we raised quite a bit of money for Compass Quest.
That's great.
Oh, they just have their way of helping out with,
Right.
you know, veterans because we get so much of it, you know, that of people that just need help, you know, especially the veteran side of the house. We never know where to turn and who to talk to. And I think Ted and Amy over at Compass Quest, like I said, they just kind of really started it here in the Joplin area. And it was like, hey, we need to do something. Reached out to me and was like, where can we go with this? I'm like, to the top.
That's
And I-
right.
And I think they
That's
kind of
right.
needed that little bit of a
Right.
push, you know, because it's easy. You wake up and you're like, you know, what am I going to do today? Is it making a difference? You know, and I think
Sure.
that's something that just drives all of us, you know, is wondering if we're making a difference. And we don't see those results right away.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it's-
making a difference is you got to always do your best to make a difference. And I'm a firm believer if you have the ability to do something for somebody else, if you have the resources, the means, and the ability to do something for somebody else, veterans, homeless, a neighbor, kids running up and down the street in your neighborhood, whatever. If you have a chance to do something that's positive for them, I think we should all. I mean, everybody should jump in to do that, no matter what, because you gotta set the example. Somebody has to start it. Somebody has to set the example of how we show other people how to go help each other. So with Compass Quest going out and helping the veterans get help they need, and you know they did a dog thing. What was the dog thing? What was that?
well, they still have it. It's a thin red canine,
Yes,
or thin red line canine. And I mean, it's awesome with the service dogs.
Sure.
I mean, they're finding out so much about how service dogs really can help veterans and people with certain disabilities and things hold them back. I think a lot of people, when they think of like service dogs, you know, they think like blind seeing eye dogs, and that's
Right.
not the case. I mean,
right.
it's amazing what service dogs can do now, as far as day-to-day activities. And
Sure.
sometimes it's just kind of that relaxing, just that little tap left and tap right that the dogs can provide. And people don't even realize how much that can help them.
Right.
And,
So I saw that when I was there. They did the demonstration. So for people that don't know what that means, they had a gentleman there that had suffered from severe PTSD, and he had a service dog, and the dog would go sit behind him, and he would alert this guy if somebody was walking up on his left or his right or whatever. So for people that don't realize, like you were saying, people think, you know, they're service dogs for folks that have seizures and other medical ailments, but these dogs were like, these guys, those dogs are hardcore, man. They were protective. They'd lean up against the guy to let him know somebody was there, or, you know, just, it was just really cool the way they did the demonstration, and that helps soothe the stress of not knowing who's walking up behind you, or, you know, other stresses. So I thought that was an amazing,
Yeah, I
that
think
was cool. That
I
was
think
cool.
it's really great that they, you know, help veterans get these dogs, because they're, you know, it's very expensive and very time consuming to train these dogs, you know, and they help them, provide them with a dog. And
It is.
it's great. And it's great for the dogs too,
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
You see
yeah.
the happiest dogs that are service
Oh,
dogs.
man,
You're
it's
putting them
so
to work,
awesome. Yeah.
and and I think that's one of the things that people don't realize how much it takes, how much time and money it takes to train
It's
those
a
dogs
lot.
to do that. So it's like, if we can do anything we can ever do to help, that's why we always try to bring awareness when we're talking to people. Like, we want to do this fundraiser for this reason, and then now with our nonprofit getting ready to start, the Brotherhood of Warriors.
Right.
I mean, any chance we can get to give back, and I always encourage, people, and it's funny because veterans are a very proud group, and we don't like to be like, hey, kind of down and hard
Sure.
on my luck right
Right.
now.
Exactly. Like, hey, I need help. It's hard to admit that.
Definitely. So, Kevin, again, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Come
Thank
out
you
and
for
hang
having
out
me. I
with us,
appreciate it.
And I think with some of the conversations we had in the past, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because I don't know how many hours of conversation we had on leadership and the
Right.
different things that you see as Kevin Upshaw on the One Night Stand. As Kevin Upshaw, you've got a responsibility, and that's one thing I really kind of want to dive into.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people, when they think leadership, they think of the suit and tie. They think of, on the business side of the house, what
Right.
leading is. And to be able to give your perspective of showing that similar type of leadership where it's not always just that cookie cutter type leadership, what you have to do
Right.
to make things happen. And that's really what leadership is that ability to make things happen.
Right. And so a little bit of background. I've been a professional musician for 25 years. Did my first paying gig. I don't know, got paid money for singing a song somewhere down on a city square one time. And I was like, wow, I can actually make a little bit of money doing this. So, but I've always loved music. So having music and loving music has always been like, I grew up with music. Like that's always been my thing. So, I started the band that I have now, Kevin Upshaw and One Night Stand. And if anybody wants to check us out on the web, the interwebs or whatever you call it, you can check us out at Kevin Upshaw and One Night Stand. It's all one word, Kevin Upshaw and OneNightStand.com. And so I started the band, and I've had pretty much the same members for the last 13 years. Same guitar player, bass player. And then I've had two different drummers that, one drummer went on to do some other stuff. And so we wanted him to go do whatever he wanted to do. And then we got my new drummer actually is a veteran.
Definitely. Thank you for his service.
Yeah, he served the United States Air Force. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana. His name is James Streletsky. And I nicknamed him The Rock just because he's kind of like a metronome. If you know anything about music, you have tempos. So once you set a tempo in a song, you kind of want it to kind of stay the same. You don't want the speed up, slow down, come to a complete stop kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
But one of my responsibility for leading this band is I have to have shows to play. So we have to go out. I have to find the shows. I have to put out promo kits. I send out emails. I send out CDs, T-shirts, whatever it takes to get people's attention. And so, and with that responsibility comes making sure that all of my guys are there safely, that we have all of our equipment is working, making sure that we have hotel rooms and food. And so it's business. It's a business, but on the business side of it, people don't see what it takes to be a leader to make. I mean, when you're running a schedule like I run, because I mean we're playing like every single weekend pretty much, and we'll go wherever they want us to go, we'll go. But having the drive to get 4 guys to stay together for 13 years, pretty much the same 4 guys, it takes a lot. It's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of sacrifice. And sometimes with that leadership, like I've told you before, sometimes being a leader doesn't mean the spotlight has to be on you. And I'm a firm believer that good leaders, they're content and they're okay with the spotlight being on the others in their business, in their band, hair salons. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you have the ability to teach people how to shine brighter than you and be a leader. To me, that's what I like in leadership. And one thing I was telling Katrina earlier was, one of the biggest things about being a leader is punctuation, being on time. I hate being late to stuff. I hate it when other people are late. So I think you can set a really good example just as the basic foundation for being a leader is being on time where you're supposed to be and getting your objective done, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's funny because I watch you, and I think that's a great thing that you just brought up when it comes to certain band stuff and the lead singers. I don't think there's anything cooler than when the lead singer like turns to the guitarist when he's getting ready to do his solo, and you give that shout out, and you just see those guitars.
Oh yeah,
they just kind of go into this mode,
right?
And I mean, that's such a big thing how you can actually apply that with like everyday stuff.
Right.
People, they get that little bit of like, oh yeah, it's my time, and the way they take that, like, and I think that's a perfect example of seeing it right there. They all know and understand that, Kevin Upshaw is the one singing and he's doing his thing, and we got the background vocals and it's lowered down, but when they get that time to shine and they just get that look in their eye, and you give them that praise, like, yeah, that's my guitarist.
And the other thing about that is a lot of singers, and I've been in the music business for a long time. I've seen it. They have what they call LSD, lead singer disease, or whatever you call it. So it's an ego thing for a lot of people. So to me, I'm always been a firm believer. You ain't nothing without your band. I mean, you got to have the guys backing you up, and no matter what it is, no matter what your business is, you could have a lawn mowing service. And you could be running a lawn mowing service, but if you don't have anybody to push the mowers and run the weed eaters,
oh yeah,
but they got to believe in you. They got to know that you're going to be there to make it happen, and it takes a lot, and it's a lot of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's even from my family, because my family allows me to take off and go.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they don't see that
Sure.
stuff that's behind the curtain when it comes to the
Right.
leadership side of the house.
Right.
And that's just, and that's a product. I think that's one thing. If you're leading anything, you have to understand that you're going to have to eat a lot of that. You don't talk about it. You don't say, well, I did all this stuff on the back end. And it's really easy to. It's really easy when you spend hours and hours and hours honing your craft to remind people like, hey, I just spent hours and hours and hours honing my craft.
Right.
And you let the product talk for that. They see that
Sure.
when you're actually doing it. For us, we see it out here for the events, when our events are going on and we're doing our team building and our leadership training and stuff, the product itself is the result after the event, when they're like, that was amazing. Like, I've never experienced anything like that before. And I know you try to go into each and every one of your shows that same way. Like, I just want to rock their faces off.
Right. But and that's the thing that a lot of people, they only see that hour and a half on stage of playing. They don't see making sure that New Year's Eve. Okay, so I played up here in Joplin at the Elks Lodge New Year's Eve, and I had a blowout coming up here.
Yeah, you messaged me.
I called.
Like, hey,
I called.
dude.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sitting here, I'm panicking because I've got an hour to get this tire fixed, and I don't have a 4-way to undo the lug nuts. I just didn't, because it was a brand new tire. I was only on the trailer for like a month. So I called Jimmy, and I'm like panic mode, right? Because I've got a show to do, and having people that you can call to offer help or come help. So what I did was, like, after I get all panicked, right, I started just tearing my truck apart right on the side of the road, and I found a jack and I found a tire tool.
Conveniently.
Yeah, just conveniently. Everything was right where it was supposed to be.
Wow.
And I didn't know I had it, right? So I was unaware that I had it. And so I got everything fixed. We got to the show. I was a little stressed, but hey, we hauled it in, set it up. And that's what people don't see. And like out here, they don't see the hours of, building your city and your obstacles, and they don't see all that hard work part of it.
And it's just always changing. We got to keep evolving too.
Right.
And I know that's the same for you with your sets and stuff. You don't want to just be stuck singing the same, 15 songs. So
Right.
it's all those hours you put in practicing and all that stuff, and getting your timing down with your guys and going over it. And it's the same thing as out here. We're constantly evolving. And I think that's one thing that we always talk about. For us, it happens to be leadership. That is what we're teaching. But it's that constant realization that we have to keep making things better. We have to keep stepping our game
Right.
up because everybody's watching when they're out here. Like you said with the show, for me, I know I've got to have a good performance out of all my guys. And we do that through preparation. We do that through, talking things out and deciding how the missions are going to go. And, the idea is to be seamless with it, and that's one thing we hope for. I know you
Right.
think of that,
That's right.
when you're singing the band, you're like, oh my gosh, if this, goes out right here, or you've got that one wrong, person in the crowd, or, that one upset
Or you
bar
break
manager.
a string.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or, yeah.
I
and-
did that a couple weeks ago, and it was very inconvenient, but you have to learn to adapt and conquer, and you got to be able to overcome those things are going to happen. So
when I came and watched you play the other night, and that made me think of something. So I went to watch you play, and I can see you up there, and you're on stage, and you're going, and you're flowing through it. And I don't know if you dropped your pick or your pick went somewhere.
yeah,
But
actually
you've
I
got
did.
that right on your stand. You've got the
Mhm.
picks right there.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that we talk about with that leadership stuff is this is going to happen because it does happen. So instead of you being like, all right, hang on, everybody, I'll be right back, and you have to go grab another one,
Sure.
you've got that right there in your
Yeah.
stand. And that's stuff that we talk about in our class too, when it's that being prepared. You
Right.
know, it's really easy to have a plan.
Well, it's kind of like your vehicle. If you do preventative maintenance, you're always kind of ahead of the obstacles that could slow you down in accomplishing
It's
whatever.
the same thing with being 15 minutes early. If you're,
Right. Right.
later than 15 minutes early, then you're late. It's the same thing. That's why I show up to work early because, I'm not always prepared and I have time to get prepared if I forgot something.
And then you're giving yourself that minute too. Something does happen on the road. You get stuck at that extra red
and
light.
of course, that happens to
You
me
get
all
behind
the
a
time.
Kansas driver.
Kansas
Yep.
drivers.
Whatever the
Yep.
case is, you never know if they're going to be driving 100 miles an hour or 20 miles under the speed limit. But
Right.
that's from what I've noticed, that's what you're going to get out of
I met a Kansas
drivers. And
driver
that
today.
that might upset Kansas drivers, but that's the way it is.
We
That-
love
I'm
you,
from
Kansas.
and I'm a horrible driver. So
See, I
it's
say
legit.
that now, and people are like, "What?" And then they're like, "Okay, yeah, he's right."
Don't
You
hurt
know, it's the
nobody.
same
Don't
thing.
hurt nobody's feelings.
Kansas and Illinois drivers
Oh,
fight me. That's just how it is,
dude, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, just to say this, the worst state in the world to drive across in all of America is the state of Ohio. It's only like that big.
Yeah,
And it takes 3 days to get across it because I don't know if they changed the
It
speed
sounds
limit.
awful.
I don't know if they changed the speed limit since I was up there last, but it was like 55, and there was literally a cop at every bridge just waiting on you to do 57 miles an hour. So it took forever
Yeah.
to get across.
Wow.
I hated that. Oh, I hated that.
What's crazy, it's like I grew up in Wisconsin, so for me, the difference in drivers between Wisconsin and here, like everybody says, oh, it's the other state that has the bad drivers. Like if you're from Wisconsin, it's the Illinois drivers that are terrible. You're from Missouri, it's the Kansas drivers that are horrible. You're from
Mhm.
Oklahoma, it's the Missouri and Kansas drivers that are
Right.
horrible. And that's just kind of the way it is, So, getting back to your band stuff, what do you got coming up? You got any good shows coming up? Because I love going and watching you play.
There's always a lot of good shows. We have last year I was just busy. Last year, I mean, I ran probably harder last year than I have ever. So it was kind of exhausting. I got to where when I was at home sitting on the couch, that's just kind of where I stayed. So this year I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm still playing a lot, but I'm not running the guys in the ground. Last year they were like, hey dude, I got this lady that lives in my house and we're married and I haven't seen her and and they want to go do stuff with their kids and they want vacations and stuff like that. So we got actually I will be back up in Joplin this coming Saturday on the 30th.
We're out in Joplin.
At the Elks Lodge.
Nice. Yeah, that's such a nice
to go
place.
see
It's a good venue too.
Yeah, and my buddy Chris Fiddler has Midcom Entertainment up in Joplin.
Good dude.
Yeah,
Definitely
I love
a
the
good
guy.
dude.
He's like my little brother. I just love him.
He's a tiny little fellow though.
Yeah, you can put him in your pocket.
Yeah,
Carry him around.
definitely. I just want to get a backpack and throw him in it.
Right?
Come on, dude. Let's go get some ice cream.
So, right. So he hooks me up with the folks at the Elks Lodge, and we went in to do I guess somebody canceled or something. He got a hold of me and got me in there, and so I've just kind of developed this amazing friendship with all the folks at the Elks Lodge in Joplin. So they have us up there. They had us for New Year's this last year, and they're having us back Saturday night. And
That's awesome.
so then we do that, and we'll go down to Eufaula, Oklahoma, to RCB's, the April 5th and 6th, and then I think April 12th is a private event. April 13th, we're going to the Front Street Grill in Dardanelle, Arkansas. And then, oh, geez, I can't remember. After that, April 27th, I think, is the Boar's Nest in Rogers, Arkansas.
It's going to be
Wow.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, we have fun. Come
Yeah.
see us. Anybody wants to come see us, come hang out.
I love it, dude. Because every time I do, I feel like I'm special. You point over at me like
I'm blowing you kisses.
You've got some of those songs that you're like, I know Jimmy right now wants to get up here and sing with me, but nope, this is me.
Well, and here, check this out. This is really cool. Check this out. So he comes. We played at Downstream Casino 2 weeks ago, and Jimmy walks in and he's like, "Hey," and I was like, wave back, and I know that one of his favorite songs is "Almost Home" by Craig Morgan. So, like, I had to play it for you, you know.
He did.
And I pointed at you.
Yeah, and then I look around at the
And I was
people like,
like,
he's singing that to
Jimmy
me.
knows he's special.
Yeah, he's singing that for me.
He already knows. Don't make his head
I
any bigger.
I get reminded of
Right.
that stuff all the time. Like, you know, when I said, you know, hey, I want to do this podcast because I want our reach to be bigger. I want to talk to people about how we can make them better as leaders and stuff that's going on in our mind. You know, I do a lot of the Facebook Live videos and all that stuff, but I wanted something much more organized. I wanted stuff that, you know, could really, you know, give us a good platform for getting our message out there, you know, because we've heard over and over again, you know, and it's not even just to me, you know, I know the guys that come out here and cut teeth for us out here, they hear that same thing of how they're making a difference. And with the different companies, you know, that we have worked for and worked with over, you know, in all this time, it's been awesome, you know, and now we just started this working really closely with Tommy Hawks and 2 Bravo Laser Design. And the reason why it's been so good working with them is because, you know, they're also a veteran organization. They're right down in Springfield in Missouri. And to be able to work with those guys and keep, you know, making things better with them is great because they offer a lot for us. And then with 2 Bravo Laser Design, being able to laser engrave tumblers for them and all that stuff that we got. And it makes my heart happy to be able to help other companies and especially other veteran organizations has really made a difference. So I kind of wanted to move on with you because not only, you know, do you do the band stuff and your other job that you have, but, you know, with being a dad, you're now coaching baseball, aren't you?
I'm coaching T-ball.
T-ball? Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Listen, here's what I learned about being a T-ball coach. Here's all you have to learn to be a T-ball coach.
Let's hear it.
All you do is you holler, swing.
That's it.
That's it.
That's so rough. You know, they paint
Swing
that
the
picture.
bat.
They paint that
Swing the
picture
bat.
like coaching is tough.
It's not even just really. I mean, I love the kids. So like,
Yeah.
we have one kid on our team. I won't say her name just for safety reasons. But anyway, we call her Lollipop because she loves lollipops. And first thing she says to me when she's 4 years old, right? Because I coach 4 and 5 year old T-ball.
Goodness.
Oh man, and it's so rewarding. It really is. This is great. And she comes up to me and she says, "Hi, coach. I like lollipops." And I'm like, "Well, me too." And then so every time she comes to practice, I'm always like, "Hey,
You have a new best friend.
did you bring any lollipops?"
Aw.
So
You
I'm
have
probably
a-
gonna
That's
go
cute.
buy her like a bag of lollipops or something.
I'm
But
telling you, and I think that's one of the secrets to being a good coach and a good dad is you find out what's important to them.
that's right.
And you make them feel important, and then all of a sudden they're a rock star. And then I think it's great on the coaching side because it makes them want to go to practice more.
Right.
You know, and I think like my dad, the general, as we like to call him, so nicely, he was my coach all growing up, and up until, you know, just about my early teens. And I guess one thing that I noticed with him was he was such a stickler to make sure everything was right.
That's right.
You know, but he was good. When we did stuff that was right, he let me know, you know. It was usually a lot more of, hey, this is how you're messing up.
Right.
It-
Yeah.
But what that did was, you know, he didn't spoil me as, you know, the father's son, coach's son type thing. It was, I had to earn everything. I had to earn my position. And, you know, if I wanted to play a position, I was a little guy. I was just a tiny little guy. And for me, it's like, you know, I want to play shortstop, you know, it'd be a cool spot. And, you know, he'd give me that look like, so you're going to be on second base, right? You know, it's a much shorter throw.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
but what that taught me was that I could be a good second baseman. You know, at that time, I wasn't ready to be a shortstop, you know, and you hear that story all the time. You can be anything you want. You can do anything you want in life. You know, people talk about that all the time, and that's just not the case. If you're going to be a good parent, the idea is, you know, you want people, or you want your kids you don't want to set them up for failure.
Right.
And a lot of people will disagree. You should tell them they can be anything they want. Well,
But you don't want to sugarcoat it.
no.
Right.
I mean, you got to be, when it comes to kids, you got to be real with kids.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and I think that's where we're at in today's day and age, that we feel like there's this need to like sugarcoat it and to be like, hey, everything's going to be okay.
And then also goes back to, how whenever I was in school, we all got a ribbon or we all got a trophy, and it's like you're just.
You guys did?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. We all
I
got a
forgot.
ribbon.
You're one of the younger ones.
I
so-
know.
We had to earn ours, didn't we?
Oh, my God.
I know.
Remember walking off the baseball field or football field, crying your head off because you didn't win?
Yes.
I still
mean,
had to earn my blue
And
ribbon,
you didn't
though.
get the
Well,
trophy?
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
But, I mean, it's just like, it goes back to the, it was good enough. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, last place is I'm still doing good.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm all about encouraging kids. I'm not saying
Yeah.
don't do that. What I am saying is, the kids have to learn about loss too. And I
Mhm.
think one thing that always sticks with me when I think of baseball and I think of growing up with my dad as a coach, after every game, he'd always give the game ball. You know how many game balls I got? 0.
Really?
Wow.
0 game balls. I could
yeah.
have a great game.
Right.
I could, I could have done amazing. Like, oh yeah, it's my turn. It's my turn to get the game ball.
But you didn't realize it then, but he was giving you a better drive.
Seriously.
Because
Yeah.
you can give a kid a game ball, you can give a kid a trophy,
Mhm.
Exactly. Make them work for
but
it.
you're not giving them nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't know, they don't have that drive
Make
of
them earn it.
like you and me, like when we
Or
were
they
kids.
won't.
Right. They're not going to earn it because they're going to expect it to be given to them.
exactly.
and it's like with
I
my
don't have to
daughter.
try as hard. I'm going to get anyways.
Right. Like with my daughter, I don't baby her on the field. I mean,
That's
I
good.
don't let her. She might play first base one day. Everybody wants to be pitcher because they think that's the cool. Everybody wants to be
Right.
the pitcher. And so I don't let her bat first every time. I don't make her clean up. I mean, I don't. It's basically I'm very. Even though she's my daughter, she's 5, and I'm very hard on her because I want to develop that in her. I probably won't ever give her a game ball.
Yeah.
But what I'm giving her is so much more substantial than a ball that's going to sit on a shelf and collect dust.
Mm-hmm.
I agree
If that
completely.
if you catch where I'm going with
Yeah,
that. 'cause-
definitely. And I look back on that stuff and, the memories that I have with it. And it's funny, because my dad would make us like do drills over and over and over and over and over again. And it's funny looking back now, I could see the reward out of it, at the time. And looking back now, I could see why it was awesome. And in the moment, I saw why it was awesome because we went undefeated like 3 years in a row. Like we were pissing off other
Nice.
teams' parents so bad. Like,
That's
like, oh
awesome.
my gosh, what do they got going on over
Right.
there?
Yep.
And that was because of what my dad established with
Sure.
that work ethic, doing the same thing over and over again. And I've got a great story for it of how even 20 years down the road, how it really affected me. So I played softball, and I played softball at Fort Campbell in Kentucky, and I played softball in Puerto Rico and all that stuff. Because when you get older and you get out of the baseball thing, what's left?
Right.
Let's just wear
Right.
let's wear a cool softball gear and go out there. And
That way
play
you don't have
some
to run as
softball.
hard
Yeah.
when you get older.
And so when I was at Fort Campbell, I played shortstop because I, worked my way up. Eventually, I felt good enough, and I didn't always have the most accurate arm, but I could throw pretty hard, and pretty much anything that came my way, I could stop. And I think it was because I would do the same thing every single time. If a ground ball was coming, I get down the same way and I throw it. And the boy's mom, when we first started talking, that was one thing that she said to me. She's like, she'd come out to the softball field. She's like, you do the exact same thing every single time.
Yep.
And it was because of what my dad taught me at such a young age about if you want to feel the ball correctly, this is how you need to do it. And when I wasn't doing that way, he was sure to let me know. He
Exactly.
wasn't being too hard on me. He didn't need to tell me it's going to be okay. It was, if you're going to stop the ball, you've got to do it this way. If you're going to make the throw the first, you got to do it this way. And what it did was it established that good baseline of that work ethic that I
Sure.
knew was required in order to play well. Now, and where that goes from there is where we're at now. I could see, that's some of the things like with the guys that are out here with my boys now, because my boys are 16 and 15, and I feel like they're watching me all the time. And as much as I'd love to just have a lot of playtime, I've got stuff to get done out here. So if I can show them that, look, I'm going to put in those extra hours and I'm going to work and I'm going to grind and I'm going to be in the field and I'm going to be working on this and I'm going to be working on that, and they see that, I want them to look back someday and be like, he tried to put all this together for us.
Right.
Like when I think about it, and the guys that work for us, I think can all attest to that it's not about me. It's that bigger picture of if we can find ways to put it all together. Because I know, like we were talking about earlier about how, we know Jimmy's got his podcast and we can make it about him, and but in a good way. Like I knew what you were saying by it, but it can kind of get pictured that way a lot of the times. And I think it's just whenever I do anything, there should be no doubt to my guys and no doubt to the boys that everything I do for them. And I think people can tell the difference between ego and drive, and that's just that's one thing I always try to talk about when I am talking about leadership stuff, because I want us all to succeed. And sometimes that is the extra hours, and that's a tough thing as a leader to be like, hey, look, if we want the right product, it's because we've got to do this and this and this and this.
And one thing couple things I wanted to say here with that extra drive. So many people don't get the extra drive. They don't put it into what they're doing because they're not getting that financial compensation for it. And it isn't always
instant gratification.
Right. Instant gratification.
Right.
It isn't about the money, because in the bigger picture of things, it's like with you, one thing I like about Jimmy is Jimmy sets a good example as a father for his kids. And that's one thing.
I try to.
And you
I've
do
got my fair share of hiccups. That's for sure.
We're all going to fall short to some extent, but fathers have got to start stepping up and being dads.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, because like back in the old day, dude, you had a dad like I had. I mean, my dad took me out and taught me how to fish, bait a hook. I mean,
I also had a mom like that, and
happy birthday to your mom, by the way.
yeah, it's my mom's birthday.
I saw that. Yeah.
And that's another thing. I also had a mom like that. I mean, because my mom and dad, they got divorced when I was really young. And, my dad's job took him to another state. So it was my mom that was there. It was my mom that was out working every single day and coming home later and then still cooking for us and still making sure we were doing the right thing. And, I couldn't be more thankful. And I think a lot of times as guys, we kind of forget to make that mention to our moms that, hey, thank you for doing what you needed to do. And then some. Because it was a lot, and for me, I've got 2 younger sisters, so I grew up in a house with 3 women, so I don't even fight like a dude. If I'm having an argument,
you're slapping somebody.
No, not on that part. I mean, if we're going to blows, you're getting full man,
right?
But
okay, Jimmy.
but as far as like the talking part, I'm like, no, you didn't say that. Like, did that just come out of my mouth?
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean,
no, excuse me,
but I did, and I think that's always kind of taken people aback of how I bring the conversation, because I grew up in a house with 3 women.
Right.
And you want to talk about a house with 3 women, knowing how to argue? Yeah.
Right.
They were good at it.
You know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
You're so much like your father. I had a nickel for every time I heard it. Which I get it.
Hey, my mother said that to me. She's like, "You remind me so much of your dad."
Oh yeah.
You're welcome, Mom.
Definitely. And a side note, before I forget, unless you got something you want to say about it?
Yeah. No, what I wanted to say was back to what you were saying about the instant gratification, the people that want the money right away. And, if you make it not about money and it's your passion and, you put the time and the work into it, then the money comes. If you just go into I just want to make a bunch of money.
When does the money come?
Eventually.
But
someday.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Not today.
That's what I keep telling myself.
But it's like this. The money is there, but I've always, I feel like I should have lived in a different time in America, because I'm one of those, like, I'm going to teach my kids. I try to teach my daughter, especially her, because the way the world is changing so much around us,
Right.
that it's what you leave behind. the most priceless, precious thing you'll ever have in here on earth is what you leave. What you leave your community, what you leave your kids, what you leave your family, your extended
they're
family.
Going to be the one that's going to tell the stories.
Exactly.
You know, those are the ones that are going to stick with us. Matter of fact, what I was going to say earlier when I was just getting ready to jump in is I want you to tell me that story again about your grandpa. Because that was one of the funniest stories I heard in a long time when it comes to long-lasting relationships.
So
little backstory.
So and I'm going to probably get some of the numbers wrong here, but so my I think my grandpa's like 80, 86, 87, somewhere in there, and grandma's like 84 or whatever. So anyway, they've been married for like 67 years, 66 years, something like that.
More than a week.
More than a week. It's been a minute.
Definitely.
And
it's amazing.
And this is going to sound really bad, but
I love it when it sounds bad.
I guess when you love somebody and you've been with somebody that long, you kind of develop a hatred for them. I don't know how
taste.
Yeah, it's
who wants to eat pizza every single day for 50 years plus?
Right. And
that's
so
true.
so my grandma told my grandpa years ago that she wanted him to quit chewing. She didn't like the fact that he chewed tobacco. Well, my grandma has never had a driver's license, so she's always, she's had a state ID that she can identify herself. But
she's street legal then.
Yeah, she's street legal. Yeah, nowadays. And so Grandpa will go down. They live over in Veneta, Oklahoma, so he would go down and get a pack of Red Man or Beach Nut or whatever chew he wanted, and he would hide it underneath the floor mat of his truck. Well, he'll kind of look around left and right, and he'll look at the house and make sure Grandma's not looking through the window, and he'll pull the little rubber floor mat up, and he'll grab his chew out, turn around, and put it in his mouth, and no more than he gets it, in his mouth, you'll hear my grandma. She's like, Bob, because she has this voice, right? And she yells at him. She's like, Bob, you're not chewing, are you? And it's just like, how does she know? It's like they're on the same brainwave.
I think Karina can answer that. There's a lot of things that women just know.
I know we do.
How do you do that? It's like ESPN or something.
It is.
It's magical.
We have it.
It's magical. It keeps us on our toes.
It's real stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Can you explain it to us, or is that like a hidden secret?
It's a secret. I'm not telling you.
That's why we want you hanging around. Eventually, we'll pull some of that stuff out of you.
I'm not telling my secrets.
Because they know as soon as we figure out their secrets.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah,
it's done.
That's right.
It's done.
Just know.
Definitely. So, but yeah, I mean that really does. I think that's a great story. I mean, and what's funny, as much as we think that they really just despise each other, how much
they couldn't live.
Yeah. And
I mean, it would be, and it's like, you think about people like, let's just pick a celebrity like Johnny Cash. June Carter Cash died first. And then like 8 months later, Johnny Cash died. He died of a broken heart.
And
so
that's a real thing.
That is a real
science,
thing. That really does.
Like they talk about it where it's like, that whole broken heart thing. I think there's so much to be said for the broken heart thing, and for when people are led by their heart and their passion and all that stuff. And it's easy to take for granted. Like you said, it's really easy just to spot out Bob.
Yeah,
it is.
It is, and it's just it's a beautiful thing if you really look at if you knew them and you look at what they've been through in their lives.
Yeah.
And to know that you could just have that one person that's, what they say always got your six,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's always treated my grandma pretty. I mean, he's treated her well. I mean, he's always been he's never been abusive, anything like that. So
who's the leader of the family? Is it her or him?
Oh, geez. It's got to be grandma.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just say that because. And my grandpa, here's another thing I'll tell you. This is the most amazing thing my grandfather ever told me. He said to me, we were talking, I said, what's it like being married all these years? Because at the time they lived in this little tiny house. They bought this house in like 1976 or 77, and he paid $1,500 for the house.
Wow.
And all the lots.
Wow.
Because
Must be
they
nice.
came back
Bring
from
that back.
Yeah.
they
for
came
real.
back from California, and they just bought this property, and that's where I grew up my whole life. Like that was like there's very few things.
See, that's why when you pay $1,500 for something, that's why they don't. The old timers don't have any problem just throwing junk out in the yard.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
Right.
it's like $1,500.
It's
Now you try and get something, you're like, you better pick that up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
you know,
right.
that's one thing.
But that was kind of like always been this was a big staple in my life was my grandma and grandpa's house. So my grandpa one time
Me too.
I said, dude, what's it like being married all these years? How do you know grandma still loves you? And he says, every morning I get up, and he goes, and your grandma has a fresh pair of shorts and a fresh pair of socks laying on the arm of the couch for me. Every morning I get up.
It's love.
That is love.
And I was like, holy cow.
Do you dress Brian?
I actually do sometimes. If,
I can
'cause
tell
if I
when
don't,
you do.
then he just
I
won't
could
get
tell
out
when
of bed.
I could tell when you do. Let's
Oh,
put it
yeah.
that way. I could.
Does
tell.
he look better?
Yeah, there's.
No.
I could tell he's dressed by Karina. We'll leave it at that. I
Poor
can just-
Brian.
Most
I
of the
can just
time,
tell.
his clothes are wrinkled. To pay attention whenever you see him. Like
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
they're wrinkled because like I don't.
I know when
time
I
to
say
fold
something
laundry
to him, he's
sometimes.
like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm just up here at the shop, I'm just doing my thing."
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
And
He doesn't
for a
care.
guy
He
who
gives
is-
up.
For a guy that's so particular about, because he's probably
is.
one of the most conscious person I know
The
of
two
attention to
times
detail.
that he has hung up his jeans, I mean, they're just perfect.
See, it's like, why hang up your jeans? I'm a throw them in the drawer kind of guy.
No, not me.
If
No,
the
it's
belt,
all
if
gotta
the,
be-
if the belt's,
everything
if
has
the
to be
belt's
hung
still
up.
in it, I can still wear them. That's how I look
Oh,
at
no.
it. If I wake up and I still have my belt in my pants, I know I'm good to wear them again. It's,
Wow.
I don't know if that's weird or not, but that's just. I think a lot of people are like that. They're like,
No, he has to wear a
That's good
different
to
pair
go.
of jeans every day.
Zach, are you like
and-
that? Yeah.
I don't know how he ends up with. I mean, we have a ridiculous amount of laundry for two people. Like I can't even keep up with it. He's changed his clothes so many times,
Yeah.
and then he's the type of person that in the morning he's gonna try on 3 different outfits to find the right thing, and
Just to
just
come
throws
out here.
everything on the
Wow.
floor. So then it's
It's-
like I don't know what's dirty or clean. And
See,
it's just in a
see,
big
it's
pile.
closet.
And
That's closet stuff because he comes up here and I'm like, dude, what's up with your pants? He's like, whatever, it's just up here. But I know now. I know. See what I mean? We're
Yeah.
gonna start pulling on information. He sits at home, probably puts on 3 or 4 outfits.
he does.
What kind
Trying
of
to
music
find-
does he listen to when he does that?
Whitney Houston.
Oh, he doesn't. It's
No.
Oh yeah, I'm sleeping.
Okay. He's just back there making faces at us, you know. He's like, he's just trying to get us to laugh.
Trying to get us to laugh.
Definitely, but yeah, I get and I keep mentioning Brian, you know, because Brian's one of my senior instructors out here
Yeah.
at True North, and Brian and I,
He's pretty amazing.
since like day one, you know, it's like we first met, and I'm like, man, I like this kid, and it's because I think we're so opposite on so many levels, and at the same time, we both have the same goal in mind.
Yeah, and you guys can balance each other out.
And,
Right.
And I think that's one thing when we're talking about, you know, just life in general. And it's like the people you surround yourself with. So many people just like the norm. They want to hang out with people that feel the exact same way they do. That's not going to give them friction.
True.
But one thing I've noticed that doesn't make you really any better. You know, you kind of stay a thing. And that's one of the reasons, you know, like, you know, another thing that we were going to talk about, you know, in regards to, you know, just normal like stuff that's going on every day, you know, because I know you're passionate about like the 2A stuff. I know you're passionate about the right to bear arms in America and protecting it, and all that stuff. And I feel that same way with that stuff, you know. But I'm one of those guys where I'm going to go 100 different places to find out if this should be my answer. You know what I mean?
Right. I'll tell you where I find my answer. And this is where I always settle.
Sitting in the bathroom.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes it's what it takes. The only break you have to sit and think.
Right. So sometimes the only privacy I get in my life.
Yeah.
And I still get the hand under the door.
Yeah.
But no, the one thing, and I'll settle the argument with the people because I'm a very conservative
Yeah.
person. I
I would
have
agree with that.
I have and I wouldn't even I would say it's I'm very conservative on things, but it's because I have a value system that I live by. It's the way I was raised. It's the way I was brought up. And one thing that, you know, the right to bear arms. I carry a gun with me 99.999% of the time.
Put that out there. Let people know.
Well, I'm just saying.
Heck yeah. It's like, you can find out if you want to.
You want to come get my
can
car?
believe
You want to
me?
hurt my family? Because and here's where I settle the debate. the Bill of Rights, the very first line in the Bill of Rights is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
What? Not guaranteed happiness?
Not guaranteed, yeah, right.
Oh,
Or we're going
right.
to take half of
that's
your
weird.
happiness, Jimmy, and we're going to give it to Katrina that doesn't have. You have happiness. You look at you. You have
Absolutely, yeah.
happiness.
She's definitely happy.
She's happy.
Yeah, she's
So
happy.
but what I'm saying is so people always say, well, you don't have the right to possess a firearm. Yes, I do, and it's in the
Ish.
Constitution and it's in the Bill of Rights.
To me,
because
that's an ish thing. To me, it is, and I'll let you keep talking, and then about. I have my reasons for feeling like it's an ish.
an ish. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
on who has the right to bear arms, and this is where we probably, maybe, are a little bit different.
Okay,
But I don't even think we're that different. I think once I explain it, because for me, I think everybody should have the right to bear arms, given the fact that they're mentally stable.
oh, of course, of
Yeah.
course,
And
yes.
that's really my thing. Because
Right.
I see so many people on. I see a lot of people on Facebook. They're like, "Man, I definitely deserve my guns." I'm like, that might be a little
You
creepy.
probably should.
Yeah, like, well, you can have guns. Just let me hold them.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me give you the bullet when it's time to fire.
Yeah, and I mean that's a real thing, and I think
Sure.
that's what I think that's probably what 90% of the people that are like, not everybody should own guns means. That those people that are like, we got to protect people better. Like, I get it. I get it. I really do. Like, there's that part of me that can understand that argument, that has that fear of the guns being in the wrong hands.
Sure.
But then you
absolutely.
have to decide who that is, and do we really want? How much do we want the government to control who can and can't have weapons?
Sure.
And I think that's where half the confusion is, and then you've got the other half of confusion where there's a propaganda of what's the good weapons, what's the bad weapons, what's an assault rifle, what's not an assault rifle. Because I
Sure.
think even most of that conversation is just the way a weapon looks. It's almost that scariness when they can do,
There's
this.
an assault weapon.
Yep.
Oh
You
yeah,
can assault
I
someone with
guarantee.
I could
you.
throw it at you and
Yeah, we
assault
can-
you with it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do some
I
damage
mean,
with it.
I feel assaulted right now.
Oh.
The way you're holding it.
I'm
Pointing
sorry.
at
Are
it.
you
Holding it.
offended? I'm sorry.
I'm so offended.
Sir, drop the pen.
It's, you know what? And I think for people, it's also so easy now to just pull that
Draw a
offended
mustache
card,
on you.
when
yeah,
it comes to that. And, we don't have to, to dive totally into the whole 2A thing, but I just know that's one of those things that you're passionate about. And I agree. I think everybody's passionate about it. I just don't think many people are informed. They just see that one
Sure.
post on Facebook and they're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And
Yeah,
I don't want it to get to that level. For me, like when I'm thinking, it's like, you can't say use common sense because someone's common sense isn't as common to the other person.
Oh,
I mean,
exactly.
if
Yeah,
they
that's
grew
correct.
up a
Yeah.
certain way or they weren't around, they weren't around weapons or they weren't, you almost have to understand that perception of how scary it is.
But going back to you say people are ill-informed or they read something on Facebook and it's the end of the world.
Mhm.
I mean, I've always I tell all the kids, like any of the kids I coach, and especially going to, I see them out when we're doing outdoor events that kids go to, and I always tell them, man, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
You've got to educate yourself on the rules, the laws, and I'm also one of those that I believe about 5% of what I read and see.
Mark Twain's got a great line for that. And I can't remember off the top of my head what that is. Like, believe half of what you see and something to that. I
believe
forget what it
nothing
is.
that you
Hear.
hear and half of what you see or something like that, I think. Or-
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Is that it?
and it's amazing how like true that is. And
Oh,
social
yeah.
media
Oh, yeah.
has made it so difficult. And I think that's just another reason for the podcast is, and for us getting together like this is because I want to know different people's opinions, what it is that they're feeling, and because there is so much information available. And you've got half the people that don't want to take the time to look it up. They just want to be like,
Right.
yep, this is what I agree with, so this is what I'm posting.
Or
Then
they
you
just
got-
want to read the title and not even read the article and
Yeah.
just post it based on
Yeah,
what the
just
title says, which has
read
nothing to
the
do with actually
article.
in the article.
I know. It's like, so-and-so did this, and then you open it up, and if you actually read the article, it's like, buy this supplement right now and lose 20 pounds. It's like, You could tell.
Yeah,
They didn't even
exactly.
look, It's
I'd like to own that company.
yeah. And it's like
Way too
we
much
can put
fake
we can
news
put you in
going around.
contact with someone.
Right. But yeah,
You come out
it's
here and work with me every day. We'll get you there.
people have just I call them sheep, I guess, a
Yeah.
lot. Just because they're blindly following people over the cliff.
And that's on both sides.
It is on
Yeah.
both sides. It
That's
is
the part
absolutely on
that-
both sides. But it all goes back to people they're just not educated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you
and I'm
know
not
who
calling
knows
people
that?
stupid. I'm not saying anybody's stupid.
Do you know who knows that? The people that
Just
are in
ignorant.
power.
The people that are doing it. Yeah,
that
that's
are
right.
like the working them little puppet strings and doing a thing because they just know people are going to be like, this seems right to me. This feels right.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
another
Right.
thing. People get so caught up. Like me, I can't stand it. This is going to be a kind of a woman thing, but like women react emotionally.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
and
I grew up in a
agree.
house with it.
And right,
I agree.
right. And men do that too. I mean, I do that sometimes to a certain extent, especially when it comes to my family.
Mhm.
You know, my band, because I mean, I love those guys. That's like family to me. I mean,
Yeah,
those are
they're
my
awesome.
brothers too. So, I mean, somebody was to mess with one of them, I'm going to go into like an emotional overload, and I'm going to stop whatever it is that would be considered the threat, so to speak. But men are like, I had someone tell me one time, women think like a box. It all has to kind of make sense, and men think like a line or like a string. It's just from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Like I can say, "Hey, Carl's getting divorced," and you're going to be like, "Oh, sorry to hear that." You know, I can tell
Let's go
her.
fishing.
Yeah, I can tell her Carl's getting divorced, and she's going to be like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
She's going to want to,
I want to know the details.
Right, you want to know the details. So,
I get it.
Anyway.
I'd still rather go
But-
fishing.
but people out there, going back to the emotional thing, they read something, they hear something, and their instant reaction is based on emotions, not facts.
share it. Gotta
See,
share it.
And
I told you
and
this
I
is
used
what I
to be
knew.
like that 100%. But now I realize that, and I stop and think about it. Like
Mhm.
how should I really react to this? How should I really feel about this?
Mhm.
Because how I'm feeling right now isn't necessarily how I'm going to feel.
Sure.
Like 10 minutes from now, or
And it's good to have those one or two people that you could talk to that stuff about.
yeah,
That's one thing, like without here, like if I'm all spun up and I'm all fired up about something, usually 5 minutes talking to Greg or Jeff or Brian.
reels you
Right
back
back
in
to
a
it.
little bit.
It's real, and we all do that for each other. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing.
And that would
with the
be
good
my
team.
wife, because when I get, and I take off, my wife is like,
Well, did you
she's
think about
reeling
this?
me back in,
Yeah.
you know,
You
and
gotta
she
have
has
that.
she has to do that for me.
That's the
'Cause
scary part about like all the social media stuff
Yes.
because it's so easy. You got that little share button right there.
Mhm.
Oh, this is exactly how I'm feeling. Sharing it, and next thing you know,
Nice sound
you know,
effect.
thanks. Next thing you
I
know,
like
you
it.
got 15 likes, and it fires you up even more.
Oh,
And you
yes.
get that one comment, and you're like, yeah, got him. I knew this person was going to react that way. I knew this was going to happen.
And then you get the one comment that you don't like,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, I probably should delete that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to block this person.
I'll just
I don't
block
even-
them,
I don't
yeah.
even want to hear their point of view. I'm just going to go ahead and,
Sure.
they're not who I thought they were because they feel like,
Communication. Going back to the leadership, got to have the communication. People got to learn to communicate with each other.
yeah.
There's so many problems in America that can be solved by genuine communication.
Just talking. And social
Talk it
media
out.
prevents
listening.
that. And social media could be such a good platform for it.
It could
It really
be.
could, but I mean, it used to be, we just share food and we just share what we were going to eat for dinner and all that stuff. And now it's just everything you see. So my biggest thing, I guess, is just watch what you're sharing, and have that communication with someone before you decide to just spout off. Because I don't know how many times I've like typed all this stuff out and then I'm like, let me reread this a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I've done that.
nope, not going to
Yeah,
send
for
it.
sure.
I'm just going to let it die.
And then there's
the next
times
thing
where
you
I've
know,
accidentally hit the send button, and I'm like, oh,
that's going to stay.
that's gonna come back to get me.
And I usually have people that'll message like, "Hey, is that what you wanted to do?" and and maybe it's my own internal thinking. So we're at about almost towards the end of our time of just hanging out, and it's been so much fun. I mean to tell you, Kevin, I've got so much respect for you.
Well, thank you for
And the amount of
Thank
love
you.
that you always show to veterans and to first responders. And I think that was another thing when we first met. We met out at Indigo Sky.
Mhm.
We had just finished an event, and we were out there celebrating. Karina, you were out there.
Yeah, it was a
And-
blast.
yeah,
It was
and
somebody's
we
birthday, wasn't it?
No, it was we had just finished an event that day. We had done one of our leadership trainings. We were out there in Indigo Sky and doing our thing. We're like, oh yeah, let's have a little fun out here. And Kevin Upshaw is up there singing away and strumming away, and he's like, man, I love my veterans. Are there any veterans out here? And we're like, and like 10 of us hold up our hand, and you're like,
and
those
I get
guys.
and I get this is the craziest thing, man. I could smash my foot with a hammer and I don't feel it, but when I talk about our veterans, I get so emotional and I get so like because to me, oh man, it's like I told you guys, I did the little acoustic deal at the VFW there in Neosho, and
and they're going to be having you back out there.
Yeah, we're going to go do that. Yeah.
That's gonna be
Cruz
awesome.
is going to have us back out, have me back out. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get Cruz in here.
So like,
oh yeah,
dude, I want to be here for
I
that
know,
one.
you were
I
ready to
want to
be
sit over there. I just want to sit over there and listen.
gonna
Dude,
be great.
he's just contagious, man. You put Cruz in a room, and he's like I said, he's my spirit animal. You know, he gets that, and people
Just
understand.
like that.
Yeah. It's kind of how he does.
But it just gets like so. I try so hard to always acknowledge our veterans. Every show I've ever played, I always acknowledge our veterans and just and their families. We gotta, if you know a veteran, and they got family that are struggling to make things happen at home, go rake their leaves, go mow their yard, fix their broken fences, whatever. Just the little things, the little things. So that's always great if we all pitch in and help support our veterans. We can do it in so many ways. So
I completely agree.
Jimmy, thanks for having me, man.
Dude, you've been awesome.
I
you know what I
appreciate
mean?
this.
Any chance we can get to sit on and
yeah,
talk
thanks for coming out.
Oh yeah.
and be able to talk more about our stuff and what we've got going on, because there's so much of it. You know? And like you said, for us, it's being able to help each other and help other veterans. That's another thing when we were talking about like Tommy Hawks and the work we've done with them. They're down in Springfield if you want to find out more about Tommy Hawks, because they get to throw the tomahawks. What else do they got there? They got the
shuffleboard, cornhole,
all those non-electric cool games down there. Just like
$25 a person for 2 hours, and they do 20% off of military
first
firefighters.
responders, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome, and that's
huge.
giving back.
That's awesome.
That's Tommy Hawks.
Tommy Hawks is right down
in
there in
Springfield?
Springfield. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
check them out.
I'll have to
Tommy
go do
Hawks.
that.
Oh yeah.
Is it TommyHawks.org?
.net.
.net.
Yeah.
I knew it was
TommyHawks.net. Yeah.
TommyHawks.net. You check them out on there, and I mean, who doesn't want to throw tomahawks and all that cool stuff?
Let's do that.
Yeah, definitely. So
absolutely.
awesome. Well, I'm so glad you came out, Kevin. I know it's
Hey,
a
man.
little bit of a drive for you.
Oh,
but it's always good having
no
this
worries.
conversation with
Yeah.
you. And Karina.
That's great.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karina,
She
she was
was
a little
all
bit
nervous and-
nervous,
She did great.
but I do
yeah.
like your Stay Swoopy shirt. Goes good
yeah.
with your hair color. What color would you call that?
My hair color?
Yeah,
Oh man.
purple.
It's a mixture of red and purple.
Raisinette.
It's just whatever I mix up in the bowl at the time. See what happens,
California raisin.
It reminds me of
Turns out a
those
little different every
little
time.
California raisin characters.
Yeah. And then every time I wash it,
That's
it
before
changes
your time.
tone too. So
Yeah, that was before your
knows?
time.
Way
The
whatever.
California raisins. Like I can't pass them up. You see it, it's nostalgic.
Would you get those like at McDonald's or Sonic or
Hardee's, I think.
Hardee's or something? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I remember that. Wow.
all right, guys. With saying that, it has been absolutely awesome. So I'll take a look over there and give everybody a little bit of the sign right here. That's how we do it. Don't forget, if you guys are looking for tumblers that you want to get engraved, you can check us out, 2 Bravo Laser Design. You can find us on Facebook.
Sure.
Or go to our TNE page. But we thank you guys.
TNE.com. Don't forget TNE.com.
It's TNE Leader.
Leader.com.
.com.
That's right.
Yeah, you
Leader.
check it out.
Yeah.
And you can see
Great
us there, what
website.
we're doing for the leadership training
Sure.
and team building, all veterans. And it's been
we have a blast out here.
We got a great ride, and it's been an awesome week. And we will be back again next week. And you can find us everywhere. That's how we do it.
Absolutely.